It's the Score North Twin Show.
All right, Score North Twin Show. No Mackie today. Just me and the sports dad. So not extra innings, not a full Score North Twin Show, but still a Twin Show nonetheless here. So hit the like button, subscribe button for Minnesota Twins content. We'll have extra innings content before today's finale against the Braves, where the Twins have won just one game on this homestand. You can put a red buzzer on the Dex Plan 9.0 that already is officially off the board with 4 losses in 5 games.
But as I keep saying, thanks to the dumpster fire-like nature of the American League race, it's incredible. They've lost 7 of 9 and have not lost substantial ground and still have a relatively comfortable lead on the Red Sox, who have, since the All-Star game, been awful. So it's if there's one thing, I'm going to go BSN for a second. If there's a silver lining in this, Declan, it's the fact that the Twins have not lost substantial ground. Of course, we're all concerned about, like, okay, that's fine, but is this going to end soon? So
let's start here. We don't really talk too much game previews or game recaps, and there's plenty of things to still get into. So let's start here with this, because this made the rounds yesterday. Royce Lewis is now getting some ground balls at second. He's been getting work there for actually the last few weeks. I know it probably came to the public's knowledge more like yesterday and Monday, but actually this has been happening behind the scenes for about a couple weeks now for Royce to just prepare himself. And Royce, came up as a shortstop. They tried him in center field. His leg exploded when he crashed against the wall. Then they moved him to third base after the signing of Carlos Correa.
Yep.
And Royce, who actually yesterday I thought had a very good game at third, had first inning, 1, 2, 3 ground balls left side, great throws across the diamond, but probably profiles better at another position. And right now for him, that might be second base, especially if Brooks Lee is ready to come back. Now, Brooks has been spending time at second and shortstop mostly with the Saints. He's battling a shoulder injury. He had the back issue. But I think long-term, in a perfect world, and Judd knows this too, with the great rear end, as Judd pointed out, Brooks.
Big lower body.
He literally profiles as an ideal perfect third baseman. And I even think the Twins might even value Jose Miranda at third base over Royce Lewis, which puts Royce defensively. I know that sounds crazy.
I did not know that.
But yeah, I
surprised face.
I believe that they even value him above Royce. So that puts Royce in a little bit of a bind here. Second base. Now, Royce had some very interesting comments on this, basically saying, I'm a baby out of the crib. Rocco went on the record, I believe, on Inside Twins and said he needs to be ready to work and prepare for basically anything. So Royce Lewis at second base. And Trevor Plouffe, who joins us every Tuesday on this podcast, kind of called this out too a little bit of, is this the right move? So I guess, Sports Dad, your opinion if the Twins are at full strength, it's game 1 of the playoff game. On the left side of the infield, is it Correa at short, obviously, Brooks Lee at third, and then Royce at second? Is that the ideal defensive alignment in your mind?
Oh, that's a loaded question, because on paper it probably is.
Right.
But and to credit Plouffe, I did not realize, and we have seen it since, but Trevor explained this like a month and a half ago, that Royce's throws from third base are basically not great in that he doesn't have, and to your point, he was fine on Tuesday, but there have been a lot of throws that have been bad throws, and Plouffe, who played third base, sort of broke it down of the why. And after that, I think we all started to watch Royce at third base closer, and it was like, oh, okay. Like, I didn't pick up on that one bit. But so on the Bally Sports North telecast last night, Roy Smalley and Corey Provis were talking about this thing. And I forget if it was them or Audra Martin who said that Royce had basically said, if I'm going to do this, it's more of a, in his opinion, off-season switcheroo. Like, there's got to be more time to prepare yourself. Now, I'm not going to claim to know the differences. Like, I know that it's been talked about. If you play the left side of the infield, it's different than the right side. Things are at an angle, a different angle. Now, I will say, playing second base, I think asking Royce to play second base back in the day this quickly could have been really, really bad, because back in the day when you could break up a double play, that was supposedly, and I'm sure it was, the toughest thing, right? Like if you're turning two, a guy is literally barreling into you. He's allowed to, can take out your knee. See where I'm going here? That is now technically not allowed. So yes, there are some things that I'm sure are difficult about the adjustment, but what was probably the most physically challenging one is now gone. All of that being said, do I think this is a good idea in a 2024 playoff game? My answer might surprise you. No. I don't think playing him at second base, if he is not comfortable, and I will say this, I think he then spends the offseason preparing, right? And he can take 1,000 ground balls there and he can get good there. I have no doubt that his athletic ability would not prohibit him from making that move. But Dex, do you want to go into game one of let's say best 2 or 3 with a guy at second who's not comfortable there? I mean, to me, that's a Julian-esque ask, right? Like ground ball, double play, balls in left field. Well, that loses you a playoff game. I think long-term, Brooksley is at third base. I like Brooksley at third more than I like anyone else on the current roster. I think he profiles there. I think he profiles there long-term. Now, there's a little more concern about Correa, so the question could be, well, does he profile as a shortstop or who does? But anyway, assuming Correa's fine, I think opening day 2025, what you just said for an infield alignment, absolutely. 2024 playoff game, I'm not real comfortable putting in a guy who's not real comfortable at a position. I think it's asking for trouble.
Well, I mean, they did this with Jorge Polanco last year, right? They were forced the hand to put Polanco at third base because Royce couldn't defensively play because of a hamstring. Julian's emergence said they had to have him in the lineup too at second. So it wouldn't surprise me. But it's just interesting because I think right now and over the last 20 plus games, and this will happen over a course of a baseball year, but Royce is fighting it right now. He's fighting it at the plate, and now they're asking him to change positions, to at least get ready to change positions.
Right.
And not to say that a baseball player, and especially a guy who's a number 1 overall pick and has all the confidence in the world, can't make that adjustment. That's a lot to throw at someone on August 28th. And, as Royce probably spends more time in the big leagues and guys get more comfortable with things, maybe that ask becomes easier. But I just think there's a lot on Royce Lewis's plate right now. And with Correa being out, Buck being out, and look, Royce has superstar moments. He delivered one on Sunday, which was hopefully going to be the game-winning hit before the implosion in the ninth. He comes off the bench, ropes a double that would have put the Twins up for good if it wasn't for the implosion. I think there's a lot on Royce's plate. And not to say that he can't handle the stress, because when you are the superstar, when you're being groomed, right, to be the cornerstone player of a franchise, these are the things that will fall on your shoulders. Regardless, though, he's a younger player. He's a human being. And I think it's a lot to ask for Royce Lewis to make that switch right now, which is probably why, and he's very honest, probably why we got those quotes of "I'm a baby out of the crib right now. I'm kind of swimming in it a little bit. I'm swimming in it at the plate. I'm learning a new position." We thought about the idea of right field. I talked to Royce about that last month. He didn't really seem necessarily on board with that decision either. He wants to play third base. He's a prideful guy, and I don't blame him for that.
Right.
But there's a logjam of infielders, and Royce does want to play every day. So I think when push comes to shove, and they need Royce to play a new position, he's going to be a good soldier and do it. Yeah. But I think right now there's a lot on his shoulders,
and I think that he should move, not just right now. Unless you literally think he can't play third. Like if it's a playoff game and you think if a ground ball goes to that guy, he's going to throw it into the stands, right? That would be the only compelling case, because at second base, like, it's funny, as fans, we assume certain positions are easy, right? Second base can't be that hard. The throw is short. Or first base, we always talked about this. First base is You can put my dog Stella at first base and she can play first base. It's the big leagues. And like Julian's struggles at times are indicative of how hard the position is. Just because people make it look easy doesn't mean it is. And so, yeah, I don't like the idea of screwing with Royce right now. I think if you were going to do this, you should have actually probably started it, when he initially came back. I am very comfortable with him being given the edict to play second base in 25. But I'm with you again, too, with the mindset, right? I don't want, this guy, and I know he's got swagger. I mean, heck, he's got the bobblehead now where he's just celebrating. Look at that guy right there. He's got the swagger in that. But I mean, he's still a young guy. And if you're going to put a bunch of gibberish in his head, and mainly the most important thing is, can he help carry this team? And right now, I mean, carry. He's not, but can he, right? With his bat.
He has to.
I don't want to be screwing with him constantly. Yeah. So I love this idea. I have advocated for this. I think what Royce is saying is right, though, which is let's pump the brakes here. Let's ask me to do this when I can digest it. I like Royce, and he does have swagger. And I mean, when that guy is going great, he can carry a team. But I think sometimes we mistake swagger for, he's fine no matter what I ask.
Yeah,
I don't think that. Yeah, and that's not fair. So yeah, let's just pump the brakes there. And I mean, also Dex, let's call a spade. Despite the fact that the Twins still appear to be in good shape to be at least or at most the third wild card, they have to make the playoffs first too. So yeah, I get where both sides are coming from. I think if the Twins put him at second now, I think you might be asking for more trouble than if you allow him to play third. Or quite frankly, Declan, if you don't think, playoff game, he can't play third, DH him. Put Brooks Lee at third base.
If
Correa's back, put Castro at second base. There's options here.
This is the conundrum here where they have a bunch of guys playing positions and putting someone out of the lineup that doesn't deserve to be out of the lineup. Trevor Larnach has been their primary DH because he's dealing with the turf toe. He played left field yesterday, but
right.
And look, Larnach isn't a world beater. I've detailed some of the great approach things that he's done at the plate this year to make him a respectable and above average hitter. But this is where next year, like if you're going to say goodbye to Kepler, which I believe they do, and
good.
Yeah, yesterday's kerfuffle at third. Rocco had a conversation with Kepler. He said he's going to keep that private. Yeah. But it was very clear Kepler not hustling, even with the sore knee. Yes, his knee is sore, but then you can't really show up your third base coach, which is what Kepler did when by the time he got up to third and side-eyes Tommy Watkins and puts his shoulders up.
What was I supposed to do?
What was I supposed to do? You're supposed to run hard and get your ass home. That's what you're supposed to do.
Or if you can't play, you can't play, too.
Yeah.
Like, that's another one, too. I mean, like, we talked about this on Sunday. When he came in late, which is maddening, and said, my knee hurts, right? And that cost him. I mean, believe me, Max Kepler not being able to play on Sunday, and I know that he did have a sore knee, it cost him huge. Because that's why you had the whole pinch hitting screw up. We talked about this. IL him. Get somebody up here who can run then.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care who it is. Can he run? Like, if you can't run, but you can't play. Don't try to play through it. I mean, Max drives me crazy. I'm not going to lie. It drives me nuts.
But back to the original point of, like, all right, so if Kepler leaves next year, there's a vacancy in right. Yeah, Wallner or Larnach probably profile there. But then in your infield, if Eddie Julian's still part of your future plans, is he playing second base every day? Is Brooks Lee at third? Is Carlos Correa healthy enough where his foot's not falling off, where he's at shortstop every day? Right. Carlos Santana's been a godsend. The dude deserves a gold glove. If he doesn't get a gold glove, I'll riot. But also, are you going to re-sign a 39-year-old guy at first base? I don't know what you do there. There's a lot outside of
Kirilloff. Is Kirilloff coming back?
Yep. Outside of catcher and center field, like their catcher positions are fine. Jeffers will be there next year. We'll see. Vasquez has turned his season around, which is nice. Byron Buxton is in center field. And Brooks Lee is hopefully at third base. Like, where do all these puzzle pieces fit long term? And to the surplus of guys, the Julians, the Kirilloffs, etc., your other prospects, Walker Jenkins, who's knocking on the door. You have one of the deepest farm systems in all of baseball. You have guys who are ready here. These are good problems to have. I'm not saying these are bad problems. You're not putting guys that shouldn't be at those positions, but does create a very interesting dilemma on your long-term future of how you fit everyone on the diamond.
Sounds like you're telling Sports Dad that there might have been excess guys to potentially trade at the deadline for pitching.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah.
It sounds like there's a logjam.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Julian, I will say this. I am not going to sell him for peanuts. I mean, he's had a disastrous year. He's had stretches where he can hit a little bit, but he's had a disaster of a year. But he's the type of guy that had a good enough year in 2023 that he could come back. So I'm not going to now. Can he play? Can he be? I mean, my God, the glove at second scares me. But could he be a utility guy? Can he play left on occasion? I don't know. Can you train him out there? But yeah, I mean, I could easily see Royce at second opening day, and I have zero problem with that. I just think you're confusing things if you try to get cute now. And if you were going to get cute, you should have done it a month and a half ago, or like when Royce came back, give him some time there. But yeah, and as far as Buxton goes too, Dex, I mean, yes, he should play out there, but again, this year's a Buxton year, and I hate to say it, it's best case. Like, he's played a lot for him, but he can't play on a regular basis. And then my question is, can you find a backup to him who's played center before? Quit with this. Well, we got Margot. He can play some center. Well, he can't. In fact, he's not very good with the glove at all. Austin Martin, God bless him. I love him. I feel like right now he's being overextended a bit.
Well, they trust him. The conversations I have heard is they just trust him in center. Yes, his paths to ball are a little unorthodox, right, but he's athletic enough to make up for it. And they don't trust Manuel Margot as an everyday center fielder.
No,
and rightfully so.
No,
they shouldn't trust Margot as an everyday center fielder. So Martin's going to get the bulk of those starts. And when Buck is indeed activated, we're not going back to 2023. That was asked. Is Byron Buck this more of a DH plan? And they said no. He needs to play center field every day.
He's a bad DH too. Like we saw that film. That film bombed. The box office rejected it.
We just talked about Royce making a position switch and how much it could be messing with him. I mean, it messed with Byron Buxton last year. Yeah, and they're not going to go back to it because he sucked at it. Like, he was really bad, and that was a large sample size too. That was not he struggled for a month. Let's see. No. And if Byron Buxton cannot play the outfield, he is a marginal player. If he can, he becomes a very effective player. So you told me, closed door meeting after Monday night's game. What took place there? Who called it? After Monday's game, there was a closed door meeting, and from what I have got, it was the manager was the one who orchestrated it and led it. And Rocco is and now I've only been on this beat podcasting thing, obviously, for this season. But from what I've got, Rocco's I want my players to handle their own BS type of thing, which I actually respect. I like that a little bit more than some old curmudgeon coming in here, throwing trash cans against the wall and berating things and saying we need to do things a certain way. He wants his players to handle it. But I think he saw, given the fact, even with Rocco's own decision-making and coaching staff's own decision-making, with some of the things that have happened, that there's some lowly heads hanging down there. Yep. And Rocco wanted to address that. And Carlos Santana and I believe Jeffers talked about that in the post game yesterday about, just that we have this group here. There's 30 games left. It obviously hasn't been going very well over the last week, but this is, when you set out in spring training, when it's August 28th and you're fighting for your life in a playoff spot, this is where you want to be. You don't want to be the White Sox. You don't want to be Toronto. Detroit, who had great expectations for this year. They're going to have to really play great baseball just to sniff being a playoff team. This is exactly where you want to be in spring training. The dog days of August. Right. I brought up this to Trevor Plouffe a couple weeks ago, the Jason Worth clip on Barstool of, you get to August and he said everybody hates each other. You're sick of each other. And Worth played on some really good Phillies teams and some kind of bad Nationals teams where these are when people say dog days of August in a baseball season, this is what they're talking about. I'm not implying that the Twins locker room hates each other. My point is you get sick of everything. It's a long season. You're nicked up, you're injured, you're hurt, you're playing through crap. You go through a losing streak, and it obviously, like, it hits you in the morale and hits you in the grief bone a little bit. And I think Rocco just wanted to make sure that let's not give up on this thing yet. We are a very good team. We've played stretches of baseball where we've looked like one of the best in the league. And even though last night, implodes in the ninth, like, they were in that game. They had runners in scoring position before they made the 4-0 comeback. They were putting together good at-bats. They know what a good team looks like, and I think Rocco just kind of wanted to remind them of that.
I think Rocco hates that. So, like,
He does.
He hates to. In fact, I have debated this before. I think he is too hands off. Like, I like the fact that, and he's right. You can't go in there yelling and screaming constantly. It doesn't work. They tune you out. But there also have been times where I'm like, you got to get control, and he doesn't. Interesting that he met with the team because of this. To me, there's a few things at work here. Some are their fault, some aren't. The first thing at work is, quite frankly, two of your impact players on a daily basis are out and have been out for a long time. And nobody really knows, especially in the case of Carlos, when he's coming back. And he's your captain. Like, they don't have a captain, but he's your captain. Joe Ryan is out. So, like, you have been put up against, like, you're up against it. You've lost, and God bless Sim and Festa and Zebby. They're all trying, but they are now being put into spots that they don't have any business being in. So that's not in their control, and I'm sure it's very dismaying. But what I'm sure Rocco is fighting against too, though, and I don't blame the clubhouse, and they're not going to talk about this publicly, but there's no question in my mind. If you look around right now and you're like, okay, we basically got you here, and the people upstairs got us Trevor Richards.
Got us nowhere.
They screwed us.
Yeah.
They screwed us. I mean, I'm sorry. As you said about Royce, these are human beings.
Yep.
You literally have, like, you're getting to the finish line, right? And all you need is a couple of glasses of water. And the Twins are like, oh, we'll give you half, just a little taste. And they're like, we got you here. What are you doing? And now those guys are out. And now Ryan is out, and your failure to go get a depth starter hurts you more because a veteran depth guy at least would have helped you out. And so I think that those are two things that you are definitely fighting right now if you're Baldelli, who, interestingly enough, Declan, is firmly stuck in the middle. Mm-hmm. I'm sure he ain't happy. Like, no. He ain't there's no way privately he's like, oh, Trevor Richards, you're kidding me. We got him. Like, this team got off to a bad start. To their credit, rebounded really well, played some great ball. And now they've lost two guys. They have no one to replace them, which I get, but they also lost a starting pitcher. And not only can they not replace him, they got no one who's even qualified. Perhaps someday Festa, Zebby, or Sim are qualified for that, but they're not qualified for that yet. So I think that there's probably internal frustration and, heck, two decks. If you're a player, you're probably like, we were told Correa might miss like a week.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of internal strife, I'm guessing, that I don't blame them. It's frustrating. And to see the front office / payroll, and you sort of push back and like play well, and you're in a playoff spot. Heck, you're chasing the division and not get help. So I think Rocco probably called the meeting to say, hey, I understand we're fighting a lot of things, but let's keep at it. The question is, do you have the team to? Do you have the bullpen to? They're wearing down. This might be a question of, can the Red Sox just continue to suck enough and the teams, the Mariners continue to be bad enough that it's going to allow you to get into the playoffs? Then you take a breath and just hope to God that you can take 2 or 3.
Extra innings later this afternoon from Target Field to wrap things up against the Braves. Another extra innings episode probably also on Friday. Twins are off on Thursday, so hit the like button, subscribe button for Score North Twins content. This is the Score North Twins Show. Appreciate you guys listening and watching. We'll be back later today.